back to the Apartment 6 podcast. It's me, Jess.
And it's me, Marissa.
Welcome back. We took a week off.
We sure did.
As you may have noticed.
Not if you don't care.
That happened very organically. Like, we really didn't even talk about it. It was just like, we're not recording.
Yep.
Like, we talked about it after the fact. We were like, yeah, so like we didn't record.
Yeah.
Did you realize that? Yep. Cool. Okay.
An unspoken business meeting.
Yeah, it just needed to happen. We
Yeah.
were both having really rough mental health weeks the last couple weeks, and then it all kind of came to a head last weekend, which is what I will talk about in my thorn. So,
But we're back now.
That's a good, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a good way to end that, the intro of the podcast on a good note. And now we're going to segue to our roses and thorns. So, Marissa, what is your thorn of the last week or 2 weeks? Because we took a week off, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if this is considered cheating because this isn't from the immediate past week, but yeah, just like Jess was saying in the intro, it was just a bad week. And I always think of, if you've watched Gilmore Girls, the episode where Luke has his dark day.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't think he leaves his apartment, and he's just like, he like can't deal with the world that day.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of felt like Marissa's dark week. Sometimes I was like, is this like what situational depression feels like? There were a couple meals that were hard to get myself to eat, which is like not normal for me by any means. And I felt like this little like cloud was following me.
Yeah, would you say it was like, not that you have to pin it down to an emotion, but like a sadness, a numbness, an anger, like an angstiness, not anger, but like angsty, like what would you say you were feeling for most of it?
I think it was sadness, and more specifically, like, not to get too dark, but like hopelessness.
Yeah.
I just felt very existential. Like, I was like, what am I even doing? Like, at work and on the planet. Like, I would like think about it in like micro and macro levels. Like, I'd be like, why am I even doing this little task at work? And then I'd zoom out and be like, what am I even doing on the planet? Like, what am I even contributing? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't know. Sometimes when you think too much about life on Earth, it's just too much. Like, it's a lot, especially now, obviously. So I think it's nothing that like a ton of people haven't experienced during this time. Like, I think everyone's kind of having their own version of a dark day or a dark week. And yeah, that was just mine. It just was sad. But I'm laughing because it's like it's a good thing, because like I'm past that mindset now, so I'm just kind of like, there's this funny like juxtaposition of like talking about feeling hopeless and sad, but like currently feeling like happy and fine.
Doesn't it almost kind of like gaslight you in a way? Like, when you this is a weird thing. I don't think I've ever verbalized it like that, but like when you feel good, you almost gaslight yourself into thinking that you never felt bad.
Yeah,
which is an odd thing.
Yeah, because like even now, like having or trying to describe it is like you're trying to put yourself back there to remember like what it felt like.
Yeah, and you
it's
can't
hard
fully
to do that.
Yeah. That's like always like an awkward thing, and I've never thought about it in like using the phrase gaslighting, but I've felt certain things in my life and then been like, that wasn't that bad. Like, I could do that again if I had to, or like I could feel that again if I and get through it this time. And then I'll get a glimpse into that. Like, I'll have a really bad anxiety day or something, and I'll be like, holy crap, that was a terrible day. Like, I don't know how I went through a period of time that was that hard all the time. It's like you'll get glimpses into it, but then you'll kind of like, when you feel better, it's like you forget that feeling. And I think that's like a human nature thing. Like, isn't it like we're conditioned to forget like
as like a coping mechanism.
As a coping mechanism, as a means of like survival. It's the same way that like when you experience something traumatic, you like block it out, or if you're in a lot of pain, you actually don't feel any pain. Like, you know, if you were to like get hit by a bus or something, it's like you actually, if you live, you could maybe make it a car. Like if you were to experience a lot of pain at once, you actually wouldn't like feel anything or whatever, because your body literally, like your brain won't let you feel it.
Yeah, it's like a blocker.
Which is not to say that that's what you're doing right now, because that's very extreme. But I do think it's interesting, like when you're on the other side of something and looking back at it, and you're like,
yeah,
what the heck was that?
And there's, even though there is some kind of confusion in that, and being like, how was I in such a different place a couple weeks ago? There's power in that too, because it's like, okay, you can get past it. Because like when you're at your lowest, it really feels like you're going to be there forever.
Yeah, well, it just shows how quickly things can change.
Yeah, you can't picture like feeling normal again. Like you're like, when am I going to feel normal? I just want to feel normal. It's like when you have a cold and your nose is blocked.
Yeah, you can't imagine ever like, breathing again.
What is it like to breathe normally? I just want to breathe normally. That's like what I feel like mental health struggles can feel like. It's like, what does it feel like to be a normal processing human?
Yeah, I think physical pain is the best thing that you can relate mental pain to.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't experienced mental pain. But yeah, I feel like I just even remember like having a sore throat when I was younger and being like, oh my God, this is the worst. Like everything I eat hurts. Like I can't even drink water without it hurting.
Yeah.
And like right now, like I haven't had like strep throat, or I've actually had like, you know, allergy kind of like scratchy throats. But if I were to like suddenly get strep throat right now, I would be like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, but you forget, and you tend to think like, oh, I could do that. Like I've like broken a bone or fractured a bone before, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember it as being that bad. Like I could do that again. But like at the time, like my ankle was so swollen and bruised that like I was like on crutches. Like it was uncomfortable, but we don't let ourselves like fully sit in that feeling. But yeah, just to reiterate the positive here, in case anyone listening is feeling low, things can change around in an instant, and sometimes for no reason at all. Like nothing big has happened in your life that all of a sudden is like, oh, now it's sparking joy and happiness.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, to help like transition to you saying your thorn, I feel like part of what helped me snap out of it a bit was something that you were going through, which kind of like brought me back down to earth in a way.
You're welcome.
So if you want to talk about your thorn.
Yeah. So my thorn, for anyone that doesn't know, though I know a lot of you do, my childhood dog, Penny, died last weekend. We had to put her down, or my mom had to put her down because I wasn't physically there because they're in New Hampshire. I've thought about like what I was going to say for this thorn, and I don't even know what to say. I feel like my Instagram post about it kind of like says the most that I like know how to express to other people that don't already know how much she means to me. But I think it's clear why this would be a thorn to begin with, but just to really drive it home how I felt about this. Penny has just been like, well, first of all, she's been in my life for 15 years. We got her when I was 10. My parents surprised me and my brother and our other dog, Lucky, with her when on Christmas, in 2005. And so she's just, been like a sibling to me, and like I would call her sister. And I just like adored the heck out of her. And I feel like because I grew up and am now an adult, I also like took on sort of a caretaker role for her. She came and I babysat her a couple of times, and so I took on more of a role with her than I did with like our other dog who died when I was 19. So I just cared for her so much, and she's been like such a comforting thing for me in the time that we've had Penny, and before or after rather, my other dog passed away, my other family dog passed away. You know, my parents got divorced and we sold my childhood home and things like that. So she's been this little constant, this little, you know, no matter what's happening with my other human family members or with my house, like nothing feels quite like home than, you know, walking in and your dog loves you the exact same way and your conversations look the exact same every time, you know, because they don't care and like they're just happy to love you. And, you know, I love and adore my mom too, and she's, you know, the best part of going home, but so was Penny. And I like held her in my arms when I was there for Christmas, and I just remember like feel like she was going through a period of time where she was collapsing, and Penny won't really let you snuggle her a ton, but when she was collapsing, she would kind of go limp in your arms. And I remember holding her and being aware of the fact that like life was leaving her body, and I just felt like, wow, this little creature, like I can just hold her right now, like close to my chest, and just like feel her little life. And it just, I can't explain it. I just like, I knew, like I started kind of writing like my goodbye post to her in a way, like as I was sitting there with her in my arms, aware of where she was at. And now here we are a few months later and she is gone. So that's it. I mean, I won't go on for too much longer because I know I just went on for like a couple minutes, but that's it. So that's what happened. It was one of my greatest fears realized. I say fear, but that doesn't feel like the right word because like I knew it was going to happen. And it's like, I guess you can fear things that you know are going to happen, but that doesn't really feel like,
it's like impending doom or something.
Yeah. Like I have always said like one of my greatest fears is losing my mom too. And I know that I'm going to at some point, but I guess I mean like untimely. But like with Penny, it wasn't even untimely. Like, you know, it was 15 years.
It
so
never would have felt like a good time.
Right. It was never going to be a good time for me or for her. Like it's just, you know, it was always going to feel like, but she's so young. She's my puppy. And like, I've thought about this week, over Christmas when I was there, me and my mom went to the grocery store and my mom just needed a few things. So she ran in and I stayed in the car, and she was like, would you mind just taking her out? Like just take her on the little island so she can pee. And I was like, yeah. So when my mom was in the grocery store, I took Penny onto the little island, and I was standing there with her, and she's like sniffing all around. It's taking forever. And this woman like came up to us, and she was like, oh my God, she's so cute. What a cute puppy, blah, blah. And I've been thinking about that woman a lot this week because I've just been thinking like that woman has no idea that she's now gone. And it doesn't matter to that lady, but it's just weird what you think about when you're like grieving. But yeah, it's just so funny. She was like a puppy to so many other people, and she was to me too. And yet she wasn't. And that's just hard. So that was my thorn.
Penny spent some time in apartment 6.
She did. She's a fan,
which was lovely. So I think we should, even though the subject matter has literally nothing to do with her, I think we should dedicate this episode to Penny.
My baby girl. Yeah, I have her little brush here, and this was the couch that we're sitting on to record this, and arguably a focal point in our apartment. It's our biggest piece of furniture. It was Penny's couch before it was ours, because it was my mom's couch for like a couple of years before we moved here, and she gave it to us. And there's a cushion that's like a little flat because it was the cushion that was closest to the window that Penny would always sit in and look out,
which it still is here, which is really cute.
Yeah, she peed a little on one of these couch cushions, but I washed it out, so you can't tell. But yeah, she's left her mark in the apartment. Yeah. But yeah, sorry to anyone who's like, oh my God, you're still talking about that. I'm not sorry.
If you feel that way, you are heartless.
I'm not sorry because this is a big deal to me. And many of you listening to this will have met Penny because you are, you know, people in my life. So that's that. It's been a hell of a week, and the last thing I'll say about it is that it's interesting. I was so sad and so like in my feelings the first couple of days, and then I, you know, got distracted as we do. You know, I went back to work, and you know, I felt a little down today because it was my first day without something like work that occupied my mind. But it's it's weird that I can even sit here and like record this and be okay.
Well, that's what we were saying about my thorn too. It's like when you feel so down and you feel so low, it's like, how will I ever get back up again? But you just always do.
Yeah,
somehow.
I just can't like I thought today, I was like, when I looked at myself in the mirror last weekend, I never thought my eyes were gonna go down.
Yeah.
Like I just thought they were gonna stay that swollen because I couldn't imagine not crying.
Yeah.
I kept my eyes were swollen because I perpetually kept crying, and so it's like at some point I stopped enough that my eyes stopped being swollen.
Yeah, I was looking this is like maybe embarrassing, but I was looking through my deleted photos a couple days ago, and I saw one that I sent to my mom of me crying.
Oh my god.
During like a couple weeks ago when I was feeling like at my lowest.
What's funny to me about that is that I just can't imagine like what your mom would have said.
I think she was just like, oh boy.
Yeah, like that's, you know what I mean? Like I feel like your mom has like a funny texting manner.
And in person, she's not very like emotional, but yeah, I saw that picture and I was like, whoa, like who is that?
I also take photos of myself crying. I took a couple photos this week. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like, I want to remember it.
Yeah.
I want to know that it can get like that and then you can still have good.
It's proof. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'll write things in my notes or I'll journal or take a photo, whatever it is that reminds me that like you can have both. You can be really sad, you can be grieving, and then you can feel good the next weekend and I feel guilty for feeling good, and that's something I've been dealing with this week is feeling guilty for not feeling the same amount of sadness I did those first initial couple of days. But then I realized that like that's pain too. Like me feeling guilt is feeling pain about the situation, and so that's part of the grief process too, is feeling guilty when you. So it just reminds me that like there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing because it's all part of it.
There's this quote in Wild. I don't know if this is the direct quote, but this is the idea. It's something like grief has no face. Mm-hmm. And I loved that because it's just like, even when you are laughing and smiling, that doesn't by any means mean that you're not grieving.
Yeah, or that you don't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like tears and crying are not the only face of grief. I think that's a really important quote and thing to remember.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's so true. So what is your rose from the last
pivot?
Yeah, to pivot from nothing. Like literally like there's no segue. This is just a hard ass pivot.
Some will understand and some will be like, what are you even talking about? But my rose is that Zoe, aka Zoella Sugg, and Alfie Days, who are both UK YouTubers, are pregnant.
They're both pregnant. Isn't that crazy?
So Zoe's pregnant and Alfie's her boyfriend. They've been together for like years and years, and it's always been a whole thing because when they started dating, they were like, no, we're not dating. No, we're not dating. But they were dating. And
but they were
dating ever since, and now they're going to have a baby.
I think what I did was Australian.
I saw that. Actually, our friend Mary texted me just like flat out in caps, Marissa, Zoe is pregnant.
You're like, who's Zoe at first? Because I feel like she's Zoella, like just Zoella.
I know. Well, yeah. So then I like hunted on Instagram and I actually cried. Like maybe that's embarrassing, but I've never been so happy from like a celebrity pregnancy announcement before. Like I've always been like, yeah, it's cool for them. I'm happy for them. But with this one, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So yeah, just gave me like a huge serotonin boost, and I'm happy for the happiness.
That's so good.
And that's my rose. What is yours?
My rose is related to my thorn. It's just like how sweet people have been about Penny. I've had, a few people send me cards or, whatever have you, and just reach out. And I think that I was kind of afraid that people wouldn't care because it was a dog. And I know that people in my life know, whether they have pets or not, how much Penny meant to me. And it even knew the reasons why, and you know that it's not Eddie, like a dog, no matter what, matters. But I knew that my friends also knew just like how comforting she was to me, and just like how close I was with her. But I still, you know, it just, when you lose someone, people kind of move on fast because if it doesn't directly affect them, and like, you know, I've done it and been guilty of it too. It's like, you know, you have like the funeral or whatever processions you have for someone, and then by the next week, like people stop checking in and whatnot. And so with a dog, it's like, it's truly like even quicker time. It's like, you know, so I just kind of wondered if people would even really care or know to like be gentle with me, I guess. And everyone was just really nice and made sure to reach out and let me know that they knew to expect that I would be hurting, I guess. Like, it wasn't even like about like what they said or what they did, although a couple people like made comments about like, Penny was the sweetest dog I've met, and like blah blah, and that made me really happy too. But yeah, and then also just like my mom, like how attentive she's been this week with like checking in with me and my brother, and we've been checking in with her a lot and making sure she's doing okay. And it was like a come to Jesus, no, but like it was a come together moment. My dad called my mom and checked in on her, and you know, my mom's fiance has been really sweet with it. Like, everyone has just been like so caring and so considerate around the fact that we lost the sweet little ball of joy in our life. So it's just been really nice to see that and feel that. All right, so we're like halfway done. Just kidding. I actually don't know what this is going to come down to in editing, but that's not so bad, even if our roses and thorns were long, because this is kind of just a candid episode. We just finished, literally like 10 minutes before recording this, the third To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. Like, we just finished the third in the trilogy, and so we were kind of talking about like romance and talking about college and high school, because you know they're like going to college from high school, like they show prom, they show graduation. So we were just kind of like talking about those things, and we were like, let's just do like a casual like sit down and chat kind of episode where we don't, you know, take notes, we don't ask questions on the Instagram, whatever, but let's kind of like center it around dating, since that's like what's like on our mind after watching the movie. So we just kind of wanted to do like an honest, candid conversation about where we're at with dating. Maybe this is interesting. I think it's always interesting. I like hearing people just kind of like free thought, like have like a heart-to-heart moment, especially on like a conversation, a topic I think is interesting, like dating.
You're witnessing a bona fide heart-to-heart moment.
Is that why you're laughing? I thought you were laughing because you were like, man, this girl doesn't know how to shut up.
No! Oh my God.
But I know that you don't think those things about me, so I don't know why
I know, you always say them out loud, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know. I gotta stop like doing that to you, because I feel like it's painting you in a negative light.
You're putting thoughts on me that I don't be having.
I know. And you even said to me the other day, you were like, when I told you a thought that I had, you were like, don't you think we're past that though? And I was like, well, that is, what have I been saying lately? I keep saying, well, that's evolved.
You've said that after every like revelation I've made the past couple weeks. You're like, damn, that's evolved.
And you know what I love about that? I completely like made that up as like a saying. Like, it's not that I made up the idea of something like being evolved, but like it's not that I know anyone who's saying that.
That's pretty good.
I literally just like started saying, like, when people would say things that I thought were so like yeah, that hits, or like like I thought they were either so mature or so insightful. That's really the word that I'm looking for, insightful. I'd just be like, oh my God, damn, that's evolved.
I didn't know you just made that up.
I genuinely think I did, because I'm trying to think like if I've been watching anyone on YouTube or vloggers or anything who's been saying that. I'm like, no, like I think I just started saying it.
It sounds like something that would be like in the zeitgeist, like that people just said.
Yeah,
you made it up.
I think one day something someone said something I just thought was so evolved. And then I said that to them. Maybe it was you. I don't remember if it was you or if I was talking about my therapist to you.
Maybe.
And I just like said that. And since then it was like, that's the way we gotta like start, you know, things are either evolved or not evolved. And that's it. Like there's no in between. Your advice is either that or not.
Oh my God. That's funny.
How did we get here? Oh yeah. So you were like, don't you think we're past that? And I'm like, yeah, that I gotta stop. It comes from, I think negative things about myself. And so I assume, oh, you're probably thinking it too. So then I say it so that I don't look like a fool for thinking that you wouldn't be thinking it. But then you're like, I wasn't thinking it. And I'm like, okay, so I just said it.
That
Great.
sure is evolved, brother.
Brother, at least I'm self-aware and y'all know it.
But that calls back to something we talked about in our last podcast episode of best advice. Was that our last episode?
I was literally about to be like, the fact that you know that is evolved.
I
think
it
was.
The best advice episode, we mentioned that like no one else is like criticizing you as much as you're criticizing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's evolved.
Anyway, so talk to me about your dating life.
Oh my God.
Talk to me about how you're feeling a year into the pandemic.
Yeah.
There have been suitors that have come in and out. People you've been talking to, then some that was stuck for a little while, others that was like, no. I know that you have feelings on the subject.
Oh, I sure do have feelings on the subject. Well, something I feel like I've never mentioned on the podcast before is that before the pandemic, I was like preparing myself for like a hot girl summer.
Oh yeah, talk about
kinda,
that. You haven't talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah,
like what your mindset was.
So basically, it goes back even further than that, honestly, because it's like I moved home after college.
Right.
Finally then met my first boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So had to date someone for the first time, living I think what would have amounted to like a couple hours away, because like I was living an hour south of Boston, well maybe like an hour and a half away, because I was living an hour south of Boston but working in Boston, so that's where I was like bumbling and
he lives west.
Yeah, maybe like a half hour-ish or less away from the city. So, you know, not very close to each other. And it was difficult. I mean, we had an episode, I think, on our first relationships, and I must have dove. I
recently had that issue with that same word.
I must have dove into it then. Gotta Google that after this.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, I must have talked about it in that episode somewhat, but it was difficult circumstances, like living in my childhood home, having my very first serious adult relationship, and also having it be not necessarily long distance, but a distance away. So like that was interesting. So then that ended, and I like tried going on a couple of other dates in the city in between living at home and moving into this apartment that following fall. And it just like didn't work out, and I was kind of like, what does it even matter? Like, I'll move into the apartment and like then I'll be able to date whoever I want, because I'll be in Boston instead of an hour away, and I can like date all the people and like have fun and whatever. So then we like moved in here, and there were a couple months of like adjusting and like decorating and all these like distractions with apartment living. And I was like, okay, now's the time. I'm going to date now.
Yeah, I feel like we both weren't dating for those first couple months. Like we were both single, and
so distracted.
Yeah, it was just like we were really busy, like with work, and
which
just
was
like
honestly nice.
Yeah, I like we must have been like on the apps and like talking to people, but like neither one of us were like
way.
Yeah, like I don't think I like went on a date until like October or something.
Yeah. So then in October,
Late October.
My mom was diagnosed with an illness. I've never like outright said it on the podcast, and I don't know if I ever will. But yeah, so I was going through like a family medical issue for like the rest of the fall into the winter. And so like I was home more, and I just like dating is not where my mind was during that time at all.
Mm-hmm.
So got pushed off again. And then around like February of last year, 2020, I was finally again like, okay, but now is really the time that I'm going to date. And I was like, I guess it would have been my hot girl spring. Like I was ready to like at that time, because I was going on my work trip, which we all know about my work trip. It's like the meme, like my personal meme. But yeah, like I knew I was going on that trip, so I literally was thinking actively like, I'm gonna get back from this trip refreshed and like ready to just like go on so many dates. Yeah, just like sow my oats.
You were talking to someone too, like before your work trip,
yeah.
and then you guys just kind of like missed each other, because didn't like you were going on a work trip, and then wasn't he also traveling or doing something
like the week after, or the opposite? Like maybe he was gone and then he got back to Boston and then
you were
I
leaving.
left.
Yeah, there was some sort of funky thing where you guys were like missing each other, so you like were talking, but you hadn't been able to meet up for a date.
And he was really cute too. That was a sad one to have flicker out.
And then like you came home and it was COVID.
Yep.
Like literally a year ago. We're on our timeline.
I know. Here we are.
Amazing.
So yeah, I was in that mindset. I was like so ready. I was like, my confidence was good. I was just ready to like have adventures. And yeah, then COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was like, what the heck am I supposed to do with my oats now?
Well, did you ever take a break like at the beginning of COVID? Because I know like you were talking to someone in June. Like by June you had been talking to someone, but I don't like were you like, oh, I'm taking a break like March, April?
The person
like
that I was
thing?
still talking to in June, I think I had started talking to in like maybe like late April.
Oh shit.
It's like I was like stupidly long time to talk to somebody before meeting them. Don't recommend it. Yeah, I think I was maybe just like confused about what was going on. Well, also we thought COVID was only going to last like a couple weeks.
Yeah, so it's like maybe you took a break for like 2 weeks and then you're like, anyway, and then like met someone and then we're like, okay, so when things are normal. Okay, so when things are normal. Yes. And then they just never came.
Right. So then I ended up finally meeting up with this person in June. And it was just didn't work, which like is why I say I really don't recommend talking to someone for so long, because I think that played into it.
You think they still listen to the podcast?
Maybe. I know that they did at the time, so maybe they do.
Hey there, brother.
You
could have been
something.
Could have been the Cal.
Could have been a contender. Yeah, we met up once and I was like, I'm not sure about this, but I feel good enough to give it another try. And then I did, and it just, something did not fit. And that was the end of that. Well, that wasn't really the end of that, actually, because similar to my work trip, I like to like hold on to things for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
So I like kind of held on to like this guy, and I was kind of like, but was I wrong? Like, was I wrong about thinking it wasn't working that second time? Like, was I in my head? Like, blah, blah, blah. So then like for the next like few months after that, I would like bring him up and be like, but do you think I should like dip my toe back in?
No, I think that we both have done that. And we both need to get more comfortable recognizing that like, even if our minds do change a little bit, like say we start to like, we get to know them more and we like them more. If you weren't jazzed about it from the beginning, like that's never the greatest bedrock. Like, right. Like wouldn't you rather like be crazy about someone, or at least be like, wow, that was a really awesome first date. Like I'm definitely interested to know more. Like even if you're not like, even if you don't come home like head over heels. You know how like some days like you come home and you're like, I am flushed in the cheeks. Like I think I might have just met like my person. And then other times it's like you come home and you're like, that was like definitely worth a second date. I feel like you at least want to feel one of those. And if you don't, I feel like we should just cut that crap off, because we've both done it. And you know we've been doing it. And we recognize it in each other, but I think we have a hard time like trusting our guts. And you know what's ironic about that?
That I say trust your gut.
Marissa's always saying trust your gut.
Go,
not trust. Go with your gut. Don't just trust it. You have to go with it. And
yeah,
so I think that's something we both could work on, and that's also something me and my therapist have talked about. Is that's also something that Gail's helping us work on. No, Marissa doesn't go to my therapist. Can you imagine if that was the case? Like you and I did therapy, like with my therapist.
Our issues are the same. I feel like I would.
I know it's
learn
yeah.
from it.
Luckily, I'm an open book, so I just tell you everything.
Yeah, I'm getting like free benefits.
But like, you should start splitting the check with me. Just kidding. Actually, I have to send her a check. Good mental reminder. But yeah, we've talked about like how if there's a red flag, like you have to cut that off, or even a red flag being like, I don't actually like this person that much. Like that's a red flag about your own feelings, right? So it's like, her and I have talked about like letting that go right away so that you don't get hurt in the end, or don't do hurting, I guess, in like the case of like if you're not really into someone. But in general, we've talked about this sense of going with your gut and following through on things that you probably should do.
Yeah, I'm going to make a statement and also phrase it as a question to you. I feel like the reason I have trouble letting go of people that I'm ambivalent about is because I feel like I'm not someone, and you might be like, that's not true. You like find dates and you like find people to meet and whatever. But I'm prepared
to rebut.
I feel like I'm someone who like doesn't have a ton of like viable chances come my way. Like I'm not like someone who people are like sliding into my DMs, and like it doesn't come that easily to
someone slides into your DMs, tell them to slide right back out. Slither.
I don't feel like I have like tons of options, and like even on the apps it's like, yes, there are like hundreds of available men, but it's like it takes me so long to find someone who I'm like actually interested in. So I think that for me, and I want to ask if you feel this way too, it's just the fact that I'm like, well, feeling unsure is still better than feeling nothing. So I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to find someone next who I actually am excited about. So should I just hold on to the unsure guy because I don't know when I'm going to get like the next chance or the next guy?
I do feel like that. And the reason I know I feel like that is because sometimes people message me on Hinge and I'm like, I said yes to you. Okay. I'm not that attracted to you, and there's nothing that really stands out in your profile to me.
Said yes, but as in like swipe, like.
But I matched with you, so I guess I was feeling a little like nervous about my dating life or whatever. So I know that, and I'm not saying that to be mean or harsh to anyone on the apps. I mean, this isn't about any specific person, but I just feel like I've realized that I'm saying yes to people because I get like, well, maybe I should just lower my standards. Or even like my mom said something that I don't think she realized has been really in my head lately. She said something in regards to like my last relationship. She was like, maybe you need to change your type. So now I've been like, well, if I want to change my type, I need to choose people that are not my type. So I've been like trying to choose people not my type, and then I'm like, but I'm not attracted to you. So because obviously that's like what you have to go with. So, or I'm like, all right, I guess I will choose a Republican. No, I'm just kidding. But I'll never do that. But no offense. But I'm like, maybe I should. That's actually not like one of the. There are things that I look for on profiles that are generally good markers that tell me that we will have similar lifestyles. Yeah. I mean, that's the point of filling out your profile. Yeah. And I have noticed that I will stray from that if I'm feeling like, oh my God, I haven't seen anyone today that I'm interested in. But what I would say to that, and what I say to myself, is like, I'm never excited about those people. So I'm like, that's not going to end up working out, because I will find a way to sabotage it if I don't really want it. And I also just feel like I'm not anyone special. Like I don't feel like I'm the main character of my story, but not the main character of the universe. And yet I still believe that I am not destined for mediocrity in my life. Yeah. Because I don't deserve that. So even though I'm just, Joe Schmo on the side. I don't want that for myself. I don't want to
Yeah.
be someone who settles. And I have felt what it's like to start settling. And I'm always acutely aware of it. And it makes my anxiety go haywire because I'm like, stop doing that. Stop doing that. You're doing that wrong. And so I just have gotten to this point with dating where I'm like, nah, like I know it might take longer, but it's going to ultimately pay off more if I find someone that I really feel jazzed about. And what I would say to you is like, you're capable of feeling that. Like you have come home from dates and been like, oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's
they
a story.
were so cute. Or, well, I mean, you've done that. I can think of 3 people off the top of my head that you have had those kinds of dates with.
I can also think of exactly 3.
Yeah, and I can think of 3, maybe 4 for me that I did the same thing. And so it's like, I think that if you know that you can feel that way, why would you ever do less? So like, I know you've said to me like, well, yeah, I don't feel or you've said, you know what it is? You've said before, and you said it with that guy from last summer. You've been like, well, maybe I should go on a second date so I can like get closer to them, like physically, like sit closer to them and like see if we like naturally like gravitate toward each other physically, see if we're more flirtatious, like see if we kiss and if that feels good.
Because
like,
I wasn't sure if on the first date the reason that I wasn't feeling much was because of like COVID and it feeling like unnatural. To like, because the whole I mean, it still is, but the whole rhetoric was like, don't touch each other,
right?
Like, don't go near each other. So I didn't know if it was that like getting in my head.
But here's what I'll say: it probably wasn't that.
Yeah, I think you're definitely
especially now that you've gone on another date that was during COVID that you equally couldn't like. That was also in your head, and you still came home and were like, that was a great first date. Like,
what a damn shame.
So like, what I feel is like if you. It doesn't matter. Like my first date with my ex was over FaceTime and I just knew that I really wanted to go on a second date. Like it didn't matter that like COVID was happening, that we weren't even in the same room. I was like, I like this person. Like I want to see them again. And so I just feel like instead of clinging to it and being like, well, maybe if I just get this opportunity with them, like it's not it.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. 'Cause it's like, if you're supposed to be distanced from them, if you're attracted to them, you'll be sure that you wanted to be closer to them.
Yes,
like you'll be like, oh my God, it sucked that we had to be apart because I wanted to be closer to them. But for me, it was like, well, I couldn't be close to them, so I'm not sure if I wanted to. And like that actually makes no sense.
And I think that you tend to be someone who doubts your feelings and you tend to think like, well, I'm not a really touchy-feely person anyway, so maybe it didn't mean anything. But I know you, and I know that I know that you also know that when you do really like someone, you do want to be close to them. That's kind of
that's true.
That's one of the, and I think I've even said to you like, you might have certain like hang-ups or like, I kind of don't love to be like touched and like cuddled or like, you know, I kind of like my distance. And I think I've even said to you like, when it's the right person, you won't feel like that. Like you'll be like, oh yeah, come here, like I want to cuddle up to you, like because you'll just be so like down to be around them and just like you'll feel so comfortable with them that you'll be like, yeah, okay, like I don't mind holding your hand, or I don't mind having being these close. Or even having awkward moments where you're like trying to, you know, cuddle or you're in COVID times and you can't actually hold hands, but you like want to, and so you're just staring at each other. Like I just feel like you know when you really like someone, and I think that you haven't always honored that, same as me.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that's like, I think you make a really good point about like your experience with having a FaceTime date. Because like that's something that I have not experienced in COVID, because I've had like,
you got to do it before COVID ends, or else
I know, well it's like, when is it going to be a thing again?
What will you tell the grandchildren? You've got to have some good stories.
I know. I'm like, introverts are really weird in that like sometimes we'd rather like have an awkward face-to-face conversation with someone than like talk to them over technology. I mean, mostly this applies to phone calls. Like I've read like books and articles that are like, introverts famously hate phone calls like even more than other people do. And I think part of that is like not being able to like use body language to kind of like diffuse the awkwardness. But I feel like some of that has trickled into me feeling really like confused and like nervous about FaceTime dates, because I've always been like, I don't know like what I would get out of that. But I think that you are a testament to the fact that like you can use a FaceTime date as a barometer for like if you like someone or not.
Yeah. And like I only did one for like FaceTime first date. I then went on to date that person and you know, have several FaceTime, like lots of FaceTime dates, but as well as like in-person socially distant dates and things like that. But so I had a really positive FaceTime date, and then, you know, one of our friends went on a FaceTime date, and I wouldn't say it's like incredibly negative, but she knew just from that one date, yeah, I'm not interested in this person. But it wasn't like I don't know, maybe if we had been in the same room, I would have been like, she could tell like, no, like they're not, I don't feel like they're fully listening to me, or I don't feel like they're asking me, you know, questions that I even feel like I want to answer. Like there was a lack of chemistry. And so I think it really can work both ways. I do feel like you get enough information where you won't feel like, I needed to be in the room with them to know more.
Yeah, it is kind of
both
funny
ways
when you really think about it, because it's like, what really is the difference between a FaceTime date and a socially distanced date where
there really isn't
apart from each other? Like what? Like this is hitting me in real time. Like what more could you get out
live evolvement
of like sitting across from someone on a bench that
you don't, especially socially distanced, because, you know, at the end of a first date or during your first date, like if you're like really into it, like maybe you guys like brush hands, or you at the end even, you know, have a long hug or kiss, but like
meaningful embrace.
Yeah, but like you if you go into a socially distanced date knowing you're staying socially distanced, because like at that point, if you do half the date socially distanced and then are like, no, we like each other, like that doesn't make sense. Like just
you gotta commit to the bit.
Yeah, like you stick to it. Yeah. So it's like you really don't get anything more than, again, like someone's body language. And I get that that's more
maybe
comfortable.
Like smell. Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, if you're 6 feet apart, it's like you might get a whiff if the wind blows the right way. But like you don't fully.
Or height. Maybe they could lie about their height. I'm like fact checking myself live.
That's true. They could lie like.
Which would be stupid, but like to lie about your height if you would like hope to someday meet in person, because like the gig's gonna be up eventually.
I know people do that lie about their height. I feel like that's like a dating app trope. Like people have like said that and like laughed about it.
5'8" and they're like 5'5".
But like, is that like something that you're like? That would be a whole that would be the whole reason not to go on a FaceTime date, is because they could lie about their height.
Yeah.
Like
no.
Yeah. So I really do think that like FaceTime dating is worth it. What else did we? I feel like, I mean, this is a free chat. We can move however we want, but we really fleshed that one out.
Well, I feel like I don't want this to be all about my stories, but I feel like I've had a couple of like weird experiences where like one time I was texting with a guy who I was interested in, and I was like, cool, like I'd like to try to meet up with this guy safely or whatever. And I think he said like, would you be down to get drinks sometime or something? And I was like, actually, for a first date, I really am only comfortable with like a socially distanced outdoor, just like we're sitting 6 feet apart outside or whatever. And this guy was like, sorry, no can do. Like, yeah, he was very blatantly like, sorry, I'm only looking to go on dates with people at restaurants.
Yeah, he literally said that, didn't he?
Yes, he was like
like at restaurants.
He was like, if you're not willing to go on a restaurant date with
me,
then I
He's like, we have to share an app or else.
Yeah, I was like, what? And I tried. This was like at night. It was like late at night. I was like still up texting this stupid guy.
Yeah.
And like me, like exhausted, was just, I like spent some time trying to understand it with him. Like I kept texting him back and forth being like, well, I don't understand.
Just to be clear.
Like, yeah, like why you need the setting of a restaurant table and utensils to bond with me. like I was like, what? I don't understand what the difference is really. Like,
didn't he say something like, I don't do outside dates or something like that? Because I feel like it wasn't even just like that he was like, oh, I don't really want to do socially distant. It was like, I don't want to be outside and socially distant. It was just like he was not into.
I think he would have done an outdoor restaurant date. It was like specifically restaurants. Like he was literally like, I am only going on dates to restaurants.
I just feel like there was someone who was like, I'm not going to be walking around. Like, I don't want to go for a walk or something like that. Like,
yeah, I don't want to go for a walk with a coffee in my
or
hand.
like sit in the grass. Like, I remember he like really, he was really dogging on nature. I was like, okay, shit.
I was so flummoxed because I was like, if you're interested at all in me, then like, what does it matter what we do?
Right.
So I was just like, okay, I think I even said this to him because I was like mad by the end of this dumb conversation. I was like,
waste my time 2020.
Yes. I was like, okay, I guess you're just like not interested enough in me to like make this slight exception to your dumb rule. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not. I was like, okay,
oh
sassy,
my God.
Sassy pants.
I just, yeah, he's the type of guy, I get the vibe that he's the type of guy that like, you know, you date for a year and then he like, you break up and he like Venmos you for all of the dates.
Yeah.
Like that's like the vibe I'm picking up from him.
So true.
So a little update. I'm on dating apps again. I know that
Hurrah!
so you guys know, you guys, everyone in the room, you know, I had a breakup 2 months ago and, you know what, guys, we all know that I've been having a rough 2021, right? So,
right.
You know, you lose your relationship, you lose your childhood dog. What else can go? Take my fucking couch out from under me. Just kidding. But, no, I really haven't even had it half as hard as other people. So I'm not complaining. But the point is, I went through a breakup and I was like, I'm going to stay off dating apps and I don't really want to. It wasn't one of those things where I was like, stay off dating apps challenge. Like, I wasn't like giving myself a time frame. It was literally just me being like, I am going to consciously choose not to give into that urge at first because I want to understand where that urge is coming from.
Yes.
Like, am I just lonely or am I just like really trying to fill the void from my breakup because I feel really sad? Like, and I wanted to be like, if I go on a dating app and I am just like every person comparing them to my ex, like, then like, okay, I don't want to be on it. So I kind of like waited until I started to just feel like excited about the possibility of meeting new people and excited about the possibility of dating to go on them. And I started to feel that in like the last few weeks, the last month, whatever. And so I basically, after I got some much needed closure, and so I started sort of testing the waters and talking to people and just seeing like what kind of feelings it brought up. And sometimes I went through, there were a couple weeks where I would like delete the dating app and then re-download it because I would be like, yeah, okay, I do want to do this. And then I would get flustered by it and be like, no, this isn't right. Like I would be flustered by like people paying attention to me. Like it was a back and forth thing. I kept like deleting and undeleting. And then I feel like I owe it to this one guy that I've been talking to. We have this like, it's so like I will go a couple of days without talking. We're not even like, we don't have each other's numbers. He hasn't asked for my number. I haven't asked for his. We talk about like musicals. Like it's like the chillest thing that literally makes me feel like this is actually just like Facebook. Like I'm like, I feel like I'm literally like meeting friends or something.
Just
like
chatting,
like there's truly something different about this where I'm not like in like a rush. I'm just kind of like throwing feelers out there. So that's where I'm at right now. And I still, you know, don't plan on meeting up with anyone non-socially distant until I get my vaccine. And I probably, to be honest, just like won't meet up with anyone even distant, even as the weather gets warmer, because I don't know. I just kind of don't really see that happening for me. Like I really do feel a desire to take things slow right now. Like I think once I meet someone, I tend to want to move kind of fast. So like right now I'm in a phase where like slow feels really comfortable. Like I even, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I had a guy recently ask me to, you know, get together. And when I told him, you know, I'm not really comfortable, going on any dates non-socially distant. And it's, you know, to be honest, I didn't even really want to go on a date at all. Like I said, I was kind of like, I don't know if I think this was still in the deleting and undeleting phase.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and he just was like, yeah, I think we're in two different places with dating. And like, he was like, nice to meet you though, wish you the best. And it was just really funny to me because I was like, yeah, like, because we are in two different places of dating, but that's not why. It's it's like that, like, it just made me kind of like laugh because I was like, yeah, I wasn't really interested in you.
Like it's nice that you're gonna leave the situation thinking that it's because of that,
right? Like our very limited interaction kind of let me know that I wasn't interested in you, and also like I just got out of something and whatever, but like that's why, like we just can't be like, I don't know, it was just sort of an interesting situation. But so I was also rejected for wanting to follow the CDC guidelines.
God forbid.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting time out there, y'all-y.
I also had
Pally Wally.
I had a weird situation where I think it was like a guy. This is like a trait of mine that I don't think I've ever talked about, that like I get freaked out if people are like too interested.
Yeah.
Like too soon.
I think that's like a natural thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. But so this guy, I think it was like we matched on Bumble or Hinge, and like we just exchanged like a few messages back and forth. And after like saying nothing besides like hi and like how are you, he was like, so can we FaceTime tomorrow?
Oh,
or something like, and
tomorrow.
I was like, I think at first, because I keep being in this mindset where I'm like annoyed. I mean, it's a two-way street, and I'm also not asking, but I find myself annoyed that more guys don't ask to do FaceTime dates. Like, I feel like most people will be like, are you comfortable I mean, not now that it's winter, because like, no, I feel like no one's really going out, but I feel like over the summer people would always be like, are you comfortable grabbing a drink? Are you comfortable taking a walk, or like something like that? But they would never offer FaceTime like as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would always bug me because I was kind of like, if I'm interested enough in someone, I would do that.
Yeah.
And they're just not asking me. But so then this guy asked me after like nothing.
But that's the thing. You probably felt like, or this is how I would feel, like he wasn't actually like interested in you because he didn't know you. Yeah. It was just like he was interested in going on a date or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not to say that
he just wanted to plan for the next day.
Yeah, like not to say that like you guys couldn't have hit off, or that he wasn't interested in you. Yeah. Like he obviously saw your profile and was interested in you, but it's like it was almost like it didn't feel romantic, because it wasn't like he was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. Like, I want to keep chatting about this. Are you around for a FaceTime date tomorrow?
Right.
It's like, based on knowing nothing about you but your profile, would you like to chat? Like, no.
Yeah, that was really weird.
I don't like that either. And I also feel like if someone, so there's like a few different versions of like someone getting, like, coming on to you too soon. There's like the people who are like, hey, beautiful, or like, hey. I don't know, I can't think of it. I can't think of
pretty
something.
Lady.
Yeah, like there are people who are like, they are like very like, you look so cute, or like your smile is what. Yeah. And it's like sometimes if they're just like, oh my gosh, your smile is like so.
A smile is like a safe, like, nice thing to compliment.
Like sometimes people will be like, you have the best smile, or like whatever, and that doesn't feel like it's coming on too strong. Because I've even like seen guys who have just been like, they're very like smiling in their photos. I'm like, wow, like just like seeing your photos made me like feel happy. Yeah. But if they're like, hey, beautiful, or like whatever, and I'm like, and they just kind of keep being like, you're like, I'm like, okay, so you're like creepy.
Yeah.
And then if they're just like, you know, they want to move, there's the people who want to move fast like that, where they don't seem to even really know who you are or care who you are, but they just like want to go on a date with you. I'm like,
just
no,
with someone who is breathing. Yeah.
Is it too hard to ask
to get to know me first?
To just exchange a few days worth of texts?
I know. I talked earlier
about the basics.
I talked to that guy for way too long. It's like, I also don't want to be talking to someone for like a minute and then meet up with them.
Yeah, there's no in between. You know what I was thinking about? We were talking about this at work. We were talking about dating apps because we have this thing. How would you describe it? It's this
thing is all the people need to know.
It's this thing called subtext, where because we're a product review website, it's like our social media manager will write out text in subtext, and they go out to all of our followers that are like who subscribe to the text program about, you know, deals this week, or let us help you pick, you know, your next item. So we did like this campaign. I say we as if I had any involvement in it. I didn't. But they did this campaign that was basically like, the first 3 people that get back to us, we will give you a personal shopping expert and help you choose the item that you're looking for.
Oh, wow.
And so we got like 85 replies or something like that in the first like half hour of people being like, I want to buy such and such, and like I need help. Mostly like appliances and things like that. And one person asked for help finding a husband. And so we ended up talking.
God.
Yeah,
I'm with you, sister.
So we ended up talking about this in like one of our meetings, where we were like, maybe we should do like reviewed goes dating kind of thing. That's so funny. And see how it like as like a little like social media campaign, or just like something like it was sort of like a something we were joking about. Am I allowed to say? I think so. And no one listens to the podcast. It's fine. Just kidding.
No one at all.
No, but like so we were just joking about it. That's the point. I hope I'm allowed to say all this. So I don't think it'll come to fruition. But anyway, so they were saying, you know, oh, we should review dating apps. And I was like, don't worry, you guys, like I'm already testing it, whatever.
That's
and so then,
actually smart.
So then a few of us started talking about it. So anyway, so I was thinking last night, like if I were to sit down and write a review about dating apps, or if I could like give like a one-liner to dating apps, it's like Hinge people, or if I could describe them, Hinge people, it's like the men on Hinge have a fear of commitment. They don't know what the hell's going on. They do want to be like in something romantic, but they don't know how the hell to do it. Tinder is people who are unafraid to not commit. And Bumble, who the hell knows? That's a big bag of who knows. Yeah. Because those people are like somewhere in between, where they're not just trying to get jinky with it on a Saturday night like the Tinder folks, but they I think I went between jiggy and kinky and went with jinky
and jinkies.
Did I? Scooby-Doo jinkies.
Jinky with it.
I'm Velma. Oh my God. Kinky with it, jiggy with it. It's just it's crazy. And then there's like the coffee meets bagels. There's obviously the more
their interface sucks.
There's like what I think of as like the adult ones, like OK Cupid, whatever.
Yeah, that's what my mom will like gently nag me about like my lack of a dating life, and she'll be like, "Have you ever thought about getting on the Match.com?" And I'm like,
Christian
that's
Mingle,
not
Plenty of Fish.
Yet. Yeah, maybe
there's so many.
Like in my 30s. It's nice that Bumble does have the feature where you can say what you're looking for.
Yes.
Granted, I don't have that filled out because I'm a little confused right now.
But can't you say that? Can't you say like open?
It might say like don't know. Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah. But I think it's cool that like,
I had a don't know profile at one point, and then I was like, but I do know.
I know. I have found that a lot of guys do say one or the other. Like they will say like relationship or like something casual.
Something casual. That's the other one. Yeah.
So I think that's great, honestly, because it's like a good barometer of like what the person's.
It always hurts though when you see someone who looks like husband material and he says something casual.
Yeah. But I mean, it's flexible. They could turn around, I guess.
I'm only on Hinge. That's like the only one I'm. At a certain point, it was like I was on Tinder. And then I was like, oh, Tinder's old now. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll download Bumble too. And then like Hinge came out, and I feel like I switched only to Hinge. And then at one point I had Bumble and Hinge because I was like, Marissa likes that Bumble. And so I tried like different things, but I'm only on Hinge.
I at one point had Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, and Coffee Meets Bagel on my phone at the same time.
Your little fingers all over your keyboard.
I was clicking and swiping on everybody. No,
I don't know how. Like, if you had different conversations with different people, like in the different apps.
Well, it didn't really mean much because like Coffee Meets Bagel is a really weird interface. It's like very like almost like retro looking. Like it's just not a very like modern like user friendly interface. And Tinder like freezes up my phone. Like when I try to use Tinder for any like extended period of time, it'll like quit out on my phone.
I dog on Tinder, but like the thing is, like one of my coworkers was like, I met my husband on Tinder, and like I dated my first boyfriend. I mean, granted, we also did go to college together, so like whatever, like we were just happened to both be on Tinder, but
yeah,
I technically did meet him from Tinder, and we dated for over 3 years. So it's like,
I do feel like there could be some serious people on Tinder who just like, I mean, at this point, I don't know how you would think this way, but I feel like since Tinder was like the OG dating app, they might still think that that's like the main one.
Yeah, like if they were to get out of a relationship or something, that's just like what they download.
Hop on Tinder, yeah.
Yeah, well, because I still feel like that's the one that people reference.
Yeah,
like that's like the Uber of...
Yeah, or the Kleenex of dating apps.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know. The thing is, like, I think what bothers me about Tinder is you really literally get no information. So you can just put like a one-liner in there.
Yeah.
Like I recently logged into my Tinder to see like what my profile looked like on there, and if I like had any old convos. There's this one guy, we like message each other every like 4 years. Just kidding. Well, kind of. It can't literally be 4 years, but it's something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And I had like no information, but like it lets you fill out one line, and so for my one line I just wrote, my dog is cuter than yours. And that's like it. That says nothing about me except that my dog is cuter than yours.
Isn't that on, don't you have that line on other dating apps? I feel like I know this about you, that like that's something.
I don't. I have a photo of my dog, which now it's like, so someone messaged me today and was like, oh my gosh, is that your dog? And I was like, she's dead. It's like, it's fucking awkward. Okay, we're in the pits over here.
Yes, please show her some respect.
Yeah, like I'm like, yeah, bow down. But it is just like funny, like that's come up a couple of times now, just, and I'm like, shit, should I change this?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I'll be like, yes, my childhood dog, and then I'm like, she actually kind of passed away last weekend. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm the person on the dating app that you matched with that just is like went through a death. Like, I don't know.
That's the human experience, my dude.
Yeah. So true.
I think we'll probably be wrapping up soon, but can I tell you something embarrassing as my last anecdote?
Yeah, I can't wait to sit on the couch after this and continue talking.
We're
about
on the
this. I know. I said continue.
Oh.
Right? Did I not? People, let's roll it back.
You said I can't wait to sit on the couch after this.
Oh, I think I meant, because I said I can't wait to sit on the couch.
Your dream is coming true. Already, we're on the couch.
I can't wait to sit on the couch and continue. I think that's how I said it. So I didn't say it right.
I'm just rattling your bones.
I literally, in a text to you yesterday, mixed around two words that like were in like really important to the sentence. Like I wrote like, I just saw so and so out of come the apartment instead of come out of the apartment. And I'm like, how did that happen though? Like how did, while I was typing, that happened? Yeah. Anyway, what people are like, what are you talking about?
We're derailing. The other day, this is embarrassing, but I think it's funny and earnest. The other day, I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw that this girl posted a TikTok and she was like, I want to find people their matches, their perfect match. So here's my Instagram handle, and anyone who wants me to try to match them with someone, DM me with, or no, I think she might have said, like,
go follow me, and she's gonna get all these followers.
Yeah, or maybe it was like, comment on this TikTok with your Instagram handle and the city you're nearest to or something.
Okay.
And she was like, if you do that, I'll try to find you your match. And I was like, should I do it? And I did it.
You did it.
I did.
So have you heard anything?
No.
She's gonna take
minute, I had so much hope in that. I was like, this girl from TikTok.
See, what's funny about this is like she might actually do it, but by the time she gets to you, it's gonna be like months later, and she's gonna be like,
I know, poor thing.
All right, Marissa. I literally picture her like running to Boston. She's like, all right, I finally found you. You're perfect.
It's like 10 years from now, I'm like married with kids. She's like, I found it for you.
Yeah, I love the how I imagine her, like in my head. She's like this really small blonde girl who's just like wears bows in her hair. And
frantically matchmaking.
Right, Marissa,
I know.
I think I found him. He wears glasses. And he has a guitar.
Oh, perfect.
And he's lankier than usual.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Lankier than usual. Okay, I don't know what that means. But
yeah, it was such an earnest moment where I was like, maybe this girl from TikTok can find me my perfect match. And that probably isn't
how would you
happen.
do that? Like, how would she do that?
I have no idea. It was I think she was like a singer or something. It was like a scam.
Right, but like even like if someone wanted to be a matchmaker,
yeah,
how would you do that?
Yeah, I feel like I'd be down to do that. Like if I had guy friends and I
like match up, like a set up a friend, sure.
Yeah, like if I had people in my personal circle that I could match to strangers.
But you know how like shows and whatnot. Well, I guess like shows they do like an algorithm or something to try to find. Like, isn't there like dating shows where
I'd be watching all the Married at First Sight.
Not that one though. Wait, actually, isn't that where they find someone who like they think is perfect?
Yes.
Yeah.
By like questionnaires, and they even on the Married at First Sight Australia version, they even have them smell different pheromones.
Yes.
And then like say which one they're most drawn to, and then they like test or I guess smell the girl. I'll
tell you something. If you're not attracted to someone's pheromones, it will go downhill. Would you ever go on Married at First Sight or The Bachelor?
Remember one time I frantically asked you, I was like, hold on, I need to ask you, would you go on Married at First Sight?
And I said no, but you said yes.
Yep. I wouldn't right now, but if I, like, some people on the show are like in their 40s or like late 30s, and they're kind of like, listen, I have tried everything.
Maybe I would then. I have no idea how I'm going to feel when I'm 40. I would
definitely, if I still feel the way that I feel now when I'm 40, I would absolutely go on Married at First Sight. I don't know if that's like controversial to say, if that's like an unpopular opinion, because everyone who goes on it is like, my family's not proud of this, and like everyone in my life thinks I'm crazy. So I would wonder like if
it's like, it reminds me on, I've seen TikToks of like, have you ever seen people it's like every episode of What Not to Wear, and it's like someone being like like
I love What Not to Wear.
Like someone being like, you're making me feel like you're taking away all of my personality, and Stacey and Clinton are like, that's the point. Like, whatever. Like, I just imagine it's like everyone in my family is so disappointed in how I dress and the fact that I want to find love.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious. I know my mom would be like, what is happening? Even though she watches the show religiously,
she would probably be pumped.
I don't know. I think because I've had these conversations with her while watching the show, and I've been like, Mom, what would you think if I went on that show? And she'd be like, don't go on that show.
Do you think she'd be embarrassed? Or do you think she just doesn't want that for you because she knows that the show's kind of bull? She's
just so traditional that like anything non-traditional, she doesn't. True. She's not open to it. But yeah, catch me in a few years on Married at First Sight. Just kidding.
Maybe.
Signing the contract now.
A few years when I'm 40.
Yeah. Time flies, man. Life comes at you fast.
Speaking of, time has flown in this podcast episode. We've loved doing this for y'all.
Hopefully it's kidding. Hopefully it's flown for you.
I know. So we're at like 1 hour, 20 minutes, but hopefully we can cut some.
I'll work some editor magic.
I don't think we started our Roses and Thorns until like 8 minutes in.
What did we even say before that? You just mean there was like nonsense before it?
Yeah, I think so.
Nonsense.
We will find out.
We had a sign at Acquired Taste at one point that was like, time since our last nonsense or something.
A sign?
Yeah, or like an inside joke or something. Like it was like, 0 days since our last nonsense.
I don't remember that. I think like the idea of like us saying the word nonsense is kind of rings a bell, but I don't even.
Maybe it wasn't a sign. Maybe it was just something we said.
I do, like, that kind of rings a bell. Like nonsense. I do remember we used to say no nonsense, no games.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of with nonsense.
Yeah. Anyway, this podcast
days since our last nonsense is really funny.
That might be something from The Office.
That's on the same. makes more sense.
Oh my god, you guys.
You made it your own. You made it your own life.
I was just gonna say this podcast has big 0 minutes since our last nonsense.
Well,
interview.
I was gonna say with the when you said a sign, I was like, where would we have put a sign?
Yeah,
we didn't have a regular room that we went to. So then you were like, so then I was like in the Facebook group.
I think it actually is a thing from The Office.
Oh, that's freaking funny. All right,
but is it evolved? Full circle.
That should be our new thing, where something's either
# that's evolved.
Yeah, that's evolved, and also since our last nonsense, unless we're ripping off The Office. All right. Marissa just opened her phone and stopped answering me, so the podcast is ending. Goodbye. Oh no, we're still recording. Shit.
I was just gonna fact check the Office nonsense thing.
Okay, I'll wait. You know when a teacher's like, I'll wait.
It's from The Office, and it's a sign that says blank days since our last nonsense.
You thought that's what we would say.
Good night.
Bye.